We have a major week ahead of us. The White House is to release a report on Wednesday on the feasibility of a national crypto stockpile per CNBC. Which coins are going to make the list? Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Welcome back to the Crypto ZX channel, to the XRP holders. Appreciate all the love. You guys are amazing. Happy Sunday wherever you are around the world. Like I said, we do have a big week ahead of us. Of course, not only is it the end of the month, but also, we are going to see the FOMC meeting taking place. It is a very, very interesting week, but mainly, due to the fact that, we are closing the month of July, which is crazy to wrap my head around how fast this month has gone by. But let's take a look at the markets. You are seeing the broader market actually in green, which is amazing to see. We're seeing a lot of bullish momentum, especially during the weekend. Again, like I said, we want to take this, on a positive, from a positive perspective. Usually you do tend to see market kind of stagnant over the weekends because of course CME futures are closed, but we have had a great great weekend for altcoins to be specific. But if we're looking at XRP, $3.18, pretty much break even in USD comparative. We're down about 0.3% in Bitcoin comparative. Valuation 188.5 billion, and the 24-hour trading volume at about $3.3 billion. But before we get into any further, as always, just a quick disclaimer: anything on this channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research when you are investing in crypto. We talk about how XRP is being added as a reserve. I talk about that every single day to you guys. Giving you guys a little bit of a reminder that we are seeing that type of demand coming from big companies. But when you kind of give visuals, it makes us understand more, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. And this is a perfect example of that. Shout out to Mia for posting this. Not just Bitcoin, below are public companies strong XRP reserve as a primary asset in their treasury. So you can see public company names. Trident Digital, of course, NASDAQ, Webis, of course, we know about this, Thumbs Media, Vivo Power, there's list goes on and on. You can see this for yourself, and there is some large amounts of money being raised. You can see this for yourself. So again, when I put into visuals, I'm sure it makes more sense. And this is a continuous reminder: if you hold XRP and you want to see whether or not these companies are actually coming on board, and there are valid sources showing that these companies are actually talking about this. It's not just a rumor. This is a reality. And what's even more exciting is the fact that we haven't even seen an ETF being approved right now, and yet you're seeing these institutions or these companies starting ahead of the curve. Because like I stated to you guys before on my channel before, this is going to become a norm. This is going to become a norm. But these companies that are listed, I think they are ahead of the curve and starting early on, and that is something that I want you guys to keep in mind. But look at this. Since the acquisition of Medico, Ripple's customer base has increased 200%. The managing director for North America, Joni, says they are becoming a one-stop shop for institutions to tokenize. And remember the XRP ledger, I've always made that statement, how it is that one-stop shop blockchain where you could pretty much have these major amounts of institutions coming in and doing everything on one platform, which itself is huge, a huge plus point, especially in the tokenization world that we're entering. More and more institutions are looking into tokenizing their assets, and of course this is where XRP ledger really shines. And moving forward, the White House, you can see, the Ripple will be a key player in the modernizing payment to and from America's bank account. And on top of that, shout out to Mr. Man. RippleNet is not an outsider to the global financial systems or the Federal Reserve System. What this means is that RippleNet is already operating as a bridge between the legacy fiat system and the incoming tokenized monetary layer. It can move value in real time across retail payment platforms like PayPal or Venmo, across settlement networks like FedNow, and even across borders using XRP or fiat-backed stablecoins, all while adhering ISO 20022 messaging standards that are now globally required. RippleNet's design makes it capable of syncing with existing banks, modernizing the plumbing without needing to replace the pipes. while FedNow is domestic real-time settlement rail, and FedWire handles high-value wholesale clearing, which went live, with ISO July 14th, 2025, which was this month. RippleNet is the overlay that lets these systems interoperate across borders and cross-currency, including future CBDCs and tokenized reserve assets. And of course, when you understand the RippleNet, you understand where XRP, the native token, comes into play. So very, very interesting. Shout out to Smoke. Shout out to Mr. Man for bringing this very, very excellent way to kind of explain this. So shout out to Mr. Man XRP. If you are an XRP enthusiast, I would strongly suggest you guys to go follow Mr. Man XRP. But Vincent goes over, once you open your eyes, you will see XRP price dumps are pretty much being manipulated by Bitcoin. So pretty much what Vincent is saying is that XRP has always been a threat, so don't get into the FUD. If you are locked into XRP, zoom out on the weekly chart and stop playing the game. And pretty much he has nailed this. Like, this is perfectly worded. Zoom out and take a look at the way XRP has held. And the most clear indication that has been here for me is this right here. And I've said this to you guys on the channel day in, day out. And of course, people that have been supporting the channel from around this time, you guys know that it is a reality. The way this coin accumulated, the way it consolidated, is something a lot of people, majority of the people actually overlook this, but only a few understand how good this is held. And I totally agree with Vincent to kind of zoom out, take a look at the bigger picture rather than just focusing on what's happening in the shorter time scales. And of course, when Bitcoin goes down, everything is going to be impacted. Bitcoin is the king of the market, and of course, everything is going to be impacted. That's something we need to keep in mind. Nothing's going to go up straight forever. There's going to be healthy consolidations, and this is a perfect example of that. But we'll come back to the charts. Let's take a look at this. Fred Krueger, who is known as a Bitcoin maximalist, literally posted this 14 hours ago, and the XRP community has gone crazy in terms of replying to Fred's tweet. So what Fred says is, not one actual human is being using XRP, not one. And of course, all the XRP enthusiasts have gone and literally put facts and facts and facts to Fred. Of course, Bitcoin maxis are hurt. They don't want anything to take over a BTC, which I even think will never happen. I personally think Bitcoin is always going to be the king of the market. It's going to, obviously, it's seen as a store of value. Bitcoin's not going anywhere, but we could see inflows actually changing. And look at what's happening with Ethereum. No one ever thought that is going to happen. And in terms of Ethereum inflows, that's at record levels. And never Ethereum has seen that many inflows. And that's how much institutional interest is coming on board. And of course, retail as well, because retail also purchases ETFs. So that really tells you how much money is inflowing into Ethereum. And of course, I think this is where XRP could, take that type of market share as well once it gets that ETF. And a lot of these Bitcoin maximalists are not happy about that. But you can see, Riz says 1,700 NDAs coming alive soon. And of course, we know 1,700 NDAs that have been with Ripple that we do not know what it is about. And I'm sure it is important because, of course, these NDAs are signed. Wonder what it is, but I think as time goes by, maybe we start hearing about what this really is. But also, in response to, Fred, we have our good old friend Smoke saying, quote unquote, no one uses XRP except the hundreds of financial institutions like American Express, Bank of America, and Standard. And but don't let facts get in the way of good narrative. Very, very well put, and a lot of people have replied to this, and this is huge. But let me know in the comments down below what your personal thoughts are on Fred's comment. I think obviously he's a Bitcoin maximalist. It kind of makes sense where he's coming from. But again, you shouldn't really say anything unless you totally understand it. That's how I think. And I'm sure a lot of you are going to agree with that. But as far as the dominance is concerned, it is pulling down. Great to see here. If you're looking at BTC, Bitcoin has seen a beautiful bounce, of course, since July 25th. Nice bounce. We did make our way back above $118,000. We're kind of ranging in this nice consolidation pattern, as we could see for ourselves. So a nice way to kind of go into this upcoming week. We'll see what happens. Like I said, leading into the FOMC meeting, I do project maybe a day before we do see the market kind of see a shakeout. But the day of, based off of what we've seen in the past, I think, we're going to see the market bouncing back up. But if you're looking at XRP still obviously within the 38.2 Fibonacci retracement level. We still have not yet to we still have yet to retest July 22nd levels. Obviously, we have not been able to do that. We did come up to the $3.24 a few hours back, but we do know there's a significant amount of resistance around that range. So I'm not surprised that we kind of got stopped out. But, like I said, it's a weekend. Volumes are a little lower. We'll see what happens. So far, so good. If it's able to break out of the $3.27 range, I am anticipating for us to retest, some of these levels, quite fast, but consolidating quite nicely. And just a continuous reminder, if you picked up some XRP around the $2.95, you are up about 10%, which is amazing to see. Of course, let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. We'll see you later in Crypto ZX, and peace out.